Entering the Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Week 15, DraftKings Millionaire Maker slate, ownership projections, pivot plays. We'll talk some updated spreads towards the end of the show as well. And if you want to get into a draw for 20 DK dollars, maybe enter the Week 16 Millionaire Maker, all you need to do is smash that like button, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and tell me which wide receiver you think will carry the most ownership below $4,500, because when I keep looking at these ownership projections, no one's really gravitating towards that range. Apparently everyone's paying up at running back and wide receiver and quarterback and tight end. It's just not going to break down that way. So someone out there is going to draw a lot of ownership, and I have an idea of who it could be, but I want to hear what you guys think out there. So do that. Also, please continue to vote for the PME as Video of the Year, the FSTA Awards. Hit the description, the comment section. You can vote every single day, which I recommend that you do, please. I need to win this. It's big. Not so much that I really care about winning, but it really shows the collective power of the Pat Mayo Experience, mobilizing the peoples to vote. And it really does go a long way. Like I mentioned on Wednesday's show, I'm having a kid, so it's going to coincide the winning announcement right around having the child, that I don't want him being born into this world with his father as a fucking loser, all right? So help me out on this one. FSTA.org/vote video and vote for the Pat Mayo Experience. Joining me on the line from DK Live and Fantasy Golf Metrics, as he does every Friday, except the times when he doesn't, it's Geoff Ulrich. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to that. I mean, my kids have already experienced it, Pat. It's no good. No good. So get Pat the win, guys. Let's go. Get voting.
No good when your dad's a constant loser?
That's right. It's terrible.
How old are your kids now? 2?
Oh, yeah, God. Potty training, Pat.
Yeah, you got 2 of them though.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, as of right now, I think I only have the one coming.
You want to know why I don't have any hair? It ain't genetics. It's twins.
That's
all I can say.
You're like Homer Simpson. You just sat there and pulled it all out.
Just all came out, Pat.
All right. Let's talk running backs. I think it's pretty cut and dry what we're looking at right now. I'm taking the tags from fansharesports.com. If you become a member, you too can see all of the tags, but they've let me address the top 3 in terms of overall projections this week. Number 1, no real big surprise with this one. It's going to be my main man, Ezekiel Elliott. Coming in at number 1, he's going to draw a ton of ownership this week. Joe Mixon at number 2. Jalen Samuels at number 3. Now, James Conner returned to practice on a limited basis on Friday, Jeff. Do you think that's going to hurt Samuel's ownership at all? Because it's going to be tough that where there's only 2 late games this week, that if you have Samuels in and you go to pivot onto Conner, if he's active, you're not going to have enough money.
Yeah, a couple things with that. I mean, I do think it'll affect it a little bit. I don't know how much. I don't think it'll be like a huge drop, because there's not a ton of other pivots, right? So there's Jalen Samuels in the 5K range. I think, Derrick Henry will probably still get some ownership, but then it's, like Chris Carson, like not super appealing options with a ton of upside. I think it'll affect him a little bit though. I think that the cloud of James Conner won't make him like uber chalky, right? I mean, I think his ownership will still get up there, but I don't think it's going to drive it down to where it's like, he's getting like a super steal, like 9% owned or something like that.
So this is why you allocate players, the latest players that you have in your lineup, into your flex spot, so it just gives you more opportunities and more outs. But just looking at the schedule, like you have those 2 games. You have New England you have the Patriots and the Steelers, then you have the Seahawks and 49ers. If you only put him into your running back spot, I guess potentially you could pivot onto Chris Carson or down to Jeff Wilson. Those would be the only 2. Or you just leave money on the table for the potential chance. And this might be a moot point, obviously, too, that if we find out the information early enough before the 1 o'clock game starts, that doesn't really matter, then you can construct your lineups however you want. But I'm kind of worried that Conner all of a sudden is going to be a last-second play.
Yeah, no, I mean, it could be. This is like a really important game for Pittsburgh, and they're the kind of team that does that with their stars. They'll kind of sell out, right? So, another option might be Sony Michel. I don't really like that option, but he's out there at the very least at 5,400. So, it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, we could see, and I mean, as we get more chatter, like on to Saturday, because there's always updates. I mean, this could become where Samuels maybe does get bumped down more, like as a play, as people just don't want to deal with the headaches. So it's definitely the main situation to keep an eye on right now, running back. Like I said, there's just not a ton of other upside options at that price. So I think the ownership will be condensed, but less so now, I guess.
I guess what you could do, I'm trying to work out the math here. 5,200 for Samuels. I really like Samuels, so I think you should play him if he's going to be the starter. Obviously, I don't endorse a start if he's not starting because that would just be crazy. So if you allocate, I mean, a lot of people are stacking this game anyway, so you're going to have a lot of jumbled money in here. But let's say if you took Tyler Lockett at 6,200 and Jalen Samuels, then you can start working a situation where you can get yourself up to Connor in one spot and get yourself down in another. Although I don't know what other receiver you could take. You could go down to like Baldwin at 53, I suppose. It's really tough because I would really want to get up to Connor if he's going to end up playing, especially if we don't know the news, because no one's going to own him because people like don't know how to late swap, so they just won't even consider him.
Yeah, and most people just don't want to deal with it, like watching throughout the day, right? So I think one other option could be Vance McDonald if you're going to throw Samuels in the flex. I like Vance McDonald anyways to potentially have a big game. And you could just, again, if Connor does play, or maybe it's going to be a split, maybe that works to your advantage, right? I mean, these guys split, they eat into each other, and then you get Vance McDonald as the sneaky play. So that's something else to consider. That might be the thing I do. With Samuels anyways.
Well, I guess the two other plays to make sure that you have enough money. Now, this doesn't work with Samuels, but it works for Connor, that if you take Juju or Edelman and put those guys into your flex, you should have enough money left over to pivot onto Connor. Now, that may be... Now, if you have Samuel, it's going to be tough because then you have to, you can just go on to Jeff Wilson realistically. Not that I love Jeff Wilson, but if Breda is also out, then he is going to be someone that you can go down to. So if you have one of those two guys, like I really like Juju this week, I really like Edelman this week, but I think if Connor was starting, I would like Connor more than both of them.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to love Connor just because of the ownership alone, right? And again, it's just the magnitude of the game. The matchup is actually really good for Connor, probably his best matchup in a while. So if Connor plays, like I said, hopefully we'll get clarity Saturday night, but it's a situation to monitor. It's the biggest one on the slate because there's potential here for like a sub 5% owned James Conner in like the game with the biggest game total of the week by far. So on the main slate anyways. So
this is the biggest situation too, where you can really assess where you sit in the standings of some of these contests. If you're up, maybe you just ride the chalk and go with it to make sure that you get inside the cash line, especially in cash games for that matter. I mean, if you're dead basically in cash games and you still have guys to go and you own Juju and you own Julian Edelman, like you can't continue to have those guys in your lineup. Only because everyone else, even the guys ahead of you, still have them. You need to find a spot to catch up. Like a lot of people did that with Amari Cooper last week. They were dead in their lineups, and they were like, well, you know what? I can't play the chalky guys anymore. I need to pivot. So I'll pivot onto the low-owned Amari Cooper, and boom, if you did that, you probably ended up cashing. That could be the same move this week if you do that with James Conner. So I'm just very interested in – I'll talk about this more on the Sunday live show at 10 a.m. Eastern time as well with Garion and Cuss. Not that Cuss has any clue what a late swap is, but he tried to do it last week, and it really failed him big time. I tried to convince him to download the DraftKings app, but he's afraid of apps. So he was trying to manage his lineup through like Safari on his phone and trying to do a late swap. It was not good for him.
It's a sad story. A hilarious story, but sad nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, if you do know how to use the app and stuff, obviously make sure you set it up with your highest piece guy, like highest salary guy in the flex. Give yourself the most flexibility. Definitely, especially as we get towards later in the season too, these things become more important because teams are going to be sitting guys, lesser known players going to be getting bigger roles. So yeah.
54 is the game total in this contest now. So it's 5 points higher than any other game. Sorry, 4.5 higher. 5.5 higher than Dallas and Indy. I still feel more comfortable stacking the Indy-Dallas game. That was until the T.Y. Hilton news came out. Now I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with that because I'm going to wait and see with him. Fortunately, we'll know before the games actually start whether or not he's playing, so it doesn't affect it like this single game does. But are you stacking that Pittsburgh to New England game a lot, or is there a game that you like to stack this week?
No, I do like the Pittsburgh New England game for sure. And I know it's going to be a little bit chalky, but I think there's ways to differentiate. Again, I talked about a guy like Vance McDonald. You could go double tight end. I do like Ben Roethlisberger in the Antonio stack. And I know it might be a little bit popular, but I think enough people are going to go to Juju that I don't think it's going to be like the heavy chalk or anything like that. And I also don't think Ben is going to be heavy chalk. I think people are going to go to Brady. There's a ton of other cheap quarterbacks. So yeah, I'm looking for 3 or 4 players from that game for sure. Like I said, Vance McDonald, a couple other cheap names out there like that. I think you can differentiate enough.
Could you stomach not playing Ezekiel Elliott this week and playing Saquon Barkley, who's a bit more expensive, still going to be pretty highly owned? I have him around 18%. I have Zeke around 37%. That it's basically a half situation here where you pay a little bit more, you get an equal quality player, and you have half the ownership. Is that a move you think you're going to make, or try to jam them both in? Yeah. Or like, what are you doing?
It's an interesting spot. Look, I mean, because there's really only two elite backs on this slate, right? You have Saquon and you have Zeke, and the problem, like, no McCaffrey, obviously.
I would say that if Connor plays, I would throw him in the mix with those guys, though. That's why I would hold out and try to make a concerted effort to get him in.
No, for sure. And I'm assuming like Connor's not playing, obviously. Obviously, if Connor like all of a sudden becomes like probable, then that's a different story. It changes the entire slate. But let's assume for now he's not going to play. He's going to be so questionable that we just can't really use him. Unless you're late swapping, right? I think that Saquon Barkley is going to get ownership close to Zeke. I think with Odell out again and people looking to try and differentiate a little bit, I think Saquon's not really going to be that lesser owned than Zeke. And as far as the spot goes, I don't know. I mean, I talked about this yesterday. I could see Saquon having a bit more muted day because Tennessee really is good in limiting the running back position, and they play pace down. It's tough. Like, there's just not that many ways. I think you got to get some exposure to Zeke. I know I'm going to get at least a little bit, but the Indy defense is still pretty good. So I guess it's not a home run spot, but you're going to want to get exposure to at least one of these guys. I'm going to be heavier on Zeke than Saquon, I think, just because I trust the Dallas offense a little bit more this time.
I'm in a similar situation as you as well. I'll be playing more Zeke over Barkley. Yeah. I played Barkley in 100% of lineups last week and played no Zeke. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to go 100% Elliott this week and have no Barkley, or actually divvy those up. So that's a decision that I'm going to have to make a little bit later on in the week. And if I do that, then maybe I can afford James Conner, and then I'm in a bad situation if he ends up going. So Samuels will end up being chalky if Conner doesn't play. We know that. What about someone like Geoff Wilson? Because the guys that I actually have projected over 15% right now are the three that I talked about: Elliott, Mixon, and Samuels. Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley. Those are the ones.
Yeah, I mean, Dalvin Cook definitely, it looks like it's in a good spot, although I don't mind fading it and going with like Steph Diggs, because Xavier Howard's out, and Diggs and Thielen are just as good a spot for a big game. So I think the narrative there, and it's one I kind of buy into, is that the Vikings are going to try and run the ball more, but they have a bad O-line. So going down like Geoff Wilson, I can't say anything bad about him. He's 4,600. I think the Seahawks defense gets a little bit overrated. I mean, I know they had one good week before that, but before that, they've allowed massive games to wide receivers. They've allowed some really big rushing games too. So I don't mind attacking this defense at all. And San Francisco at home, last time they faced the Seahawks, they got a little bit embarrassed. And San Francisco's actually been playing pretty well for a bad team. They come to play every week. They're not like Oakland or some other teams that have just rolled over in a lot of spots. San Francisco comes to play. So I like Geoff Wilson. I think, again, you look at these guys who are getting main carry roles, not going to be chalky. That's what you want.
So the other few that I'm looking at as potential pivot plays off all of the sort of chalky guys that we've talked about, David Johnson should carry considerable ownership as well. One is Leonard Fournette. I have him around 7%. We just watched Barkley torch the Skins on the ground. Now they're big favorites at home. He's back healthy. He should have a good game in this spot, and no one's going to end up using him. The other two are pass-catching running backs that I'm frankly kind of surprised no one's going to, because one is James White. I have him at like 5% ownership. I'm surprised that he is a guy in this game that no one wants a piece of. I know that his work has been diminished since Rex Burkhead has returned and they start using Devlin on the goal line. But if this is a game where you think that the pass rush comes, they have to get the ball out quickly. The same reason that everyone likes Julian Edelman, I think you can like James White here. And the other is Tariq Cohen against the Packers. Like, I don't think the Packers are dead. I don't think they're any good, but I think they can be able to move the ball. Unlike the Rams last weekend, they can move the ball outdoors on this Bears defense. And if that's the case, then the Bears are going to have to continue to throw. And if they do, Cohen is their best option in the passing game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the Bears have a big implied team total, right? Like it's almost the biggest on the slate. So it's a good spot for Cohen, and the weather isn't going to be quite as bad. I think you'll see the offenses move the ball a little bit more there. I agree 100%. I think Green Bay, at the very least, going to keep this close. It's not going to be like last week when they played Atlanta. Atlanta could barely, put up any points to keep Aaron Rodgers passing. I think the Bears are going to have to be aggressive in that game. And obviously, Jordan Howard is useless. So I think Cohen's in play. And James White was the other name I was trying to think of from that game who's going to be low. And I mentioned Vance McDonald, but James White yeah, everyone's down on him because of the decreased usage, but this is the James White spot. Tom Brady loves getting him in the lineup, and there's a good chance they might be behind or having to put up some points late in this game. You could see big usage out of James White here. I really like including him in your Pittsburgh New England stats for sure.
I want nothing to do with the Bills running backs. I guess they're both Shady and Ivory are now both on the injury report. So I guess if both of them were out, you could turn to a $3,400 Marcus Murphy, but even then it's probably still not good. The bigger injury report one that I saw, and is probably very unlikely to happen, but Ito Smith popped up on the injury report on Friday. He was full and then limited with an injury that if he is somehow ruled out for this game, I would fire up Coleman at 42.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have some Tevin Coleman exposure regardless. And I agree.
But he needs 40 touches because he sucks. But if he gets them, it'll be good against Arizona.
It's not that he sucks. The Atlanta O-line just can't run the ball. But, well, whatever. That's part of a bigger discussion, and it is mostly my opinion, which is probably wrong anyways. But I do like Coleman, 4,200. It's a good matchup, obviously. And, again, even I think he's still in play if Ito is there, just because I feel like if he gets off to a good start, Ito's a little banged up, they'll just dial Ito's workload back a little bit anyways. So I still like Cohen because he's so cheap, right? 4,200. He gets 16 points. That's huge. So I like Tevin Coleman. And I also wanted to say I like the Leonard Fournette call a lot. That's a guy I might be looking to use in like every single lineup this week. Look, he had one bad game. I mean, he's getting all the goal line work. Jacksonville wants to run the ball. You mentioned Washington. This is another team that's basically just crumbled their rush defense in the past few weeks. So I think Fournette really does have a chance to get on track here.
Wide receivers, the top three. We have an update inside the top three. So we're looking at it. Number one in the FanShare Sports rankings, Amari Cooper comes in right there. Juju Smith-Schuster, number two. But with this injury news, T.Y. Hilton was number three. Now number three, Jules Edelman has taken his spot. In fact, Antonio Brown has now matched the number of tags of T.Y. Hilton so far this week. So T.Y. Hilton, we don't know if he's going to play or not. He's a true game time decision, unless you're watching this on Saturday morning and he's already been ruled out. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not from the future. I can't decide these things. If he plays, I'm playing him.
Who's that? Sorry?
T.Y. Hilton. He's a popular. He was going to be a popular play for a reason. No one is now going to use him because he's dealing with this ankle injury. I know it's a bad matchup. I still like the spot. If he goes, I'm using him.
Yeah. No. I mean, if you want to target the Dallas Indianapolis game, I think you pretty much have to target T.Y. Hilton because I do like, just going with Andrew Luck and Eric Ebron. I just don't know if there's enough upside like in GPPs there. I mean, I guess Ebron could have like the massive game and some tight ends have done well, but if Hilton plays, like I think you got to roster him. I know the matchup against Byron Jones and yada yada. You could go on,
but is it going to be a matchup against Byron Jones? Like, don't they just motion him into the slot and then all of a sudden he's just running free down the field?
No, and that's the other thing. Like Byron Jones plays a corner, right? Like he usually stays on his own side. So they did move him over to cover tight ends a little bit last week too. But no, and the thing about T.Y. is you're going to get him at like 1% owned. So you're going to get like this really, really low owned, maybe not 1%, but a really low owned Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton stack. And I just feel like if you're going to attack that game, you kind of have to do it. So I'm on board. I haven't really decided what I want to do with that game because both those defenses are actually pretty good. And I guess that leads us maybe to our other discussion. I'm fine having zero Amari Cooper this week.
That's such a tough spot though because he's been so good.
I know,
but I just have no faith in. Honestly, the weeks to play Amari Cooper are the weeks he's not being talked about. He's gone off in every one of those spots since going to Dallas.
And I mean the Colts secondary, like they haven't allowed more than 5 catches to a wide receiver since like something crazy like week 6. Like this has been a shutdown unit. I mean, they have played really, really well against some very good wide receivers. So, Amari could put up like 18 points, but he's 7,500 now. That's not going to cut it for a $7,500 wide receiver. It's going to win you nothing. So I think at this percent ownership, like he might creep up to like 35, 40% owned in some spots, even over 30. I'm okay. I like mentioned Diggs already. I think Devontae Adams is really interesting. I like pivoting off of Cooper this week. Unless you're really committed to just going all in on that game stack, obviously you got to get some exposure.
If Hilton sits, this opens up a bunch of cheap Colts receivers. It looks like Dontrell Inman will return from his shoulder injury. Chester Rogers is still going to be there. Zach Pascal and Ryan Grant. They're all under $4,000. Is there one that you would prefer? Because I kind of want to see how it shakes out if they release a depth chart that doesn't have T.Y. Hilton on it, because I'd want to know who's playing on the outside and where Inman lines up. I have the most interest in Dontrell Inman. He's been the best of these guys when given the opportunities. He's even played well with T.Y. in the lineup. Now, this will funnel everything towards Eric Ebron in terms of ownership, and I understand that. But I do think there is value for one of these guys, and it's whoever plays the slot. It could be Chester Rogers.
Yeah, Chester Rogers probably like the best fit out of those guys for the slot role. Ryan Grant, I don't even really care where he plays. He's not good. He hasn't really been good all year.
If we can get Zach Pascal lined up on the opposite side of Jones, then I like Pascal, but I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I think Pascal has the best chance for like a really big game. I think he's actually probably the best pure receiver out of there. It doesn't mean he's just going to like come through in this spot. And again, if he gets the non-Byron Jones matchup, I agree. That's got more potential for him. I think Inman is the logical choice to get the most work from this group. So again, I mean, I'm not really providing any definitive information here, obviously, because it is a bit of a dart throw between these three. I think if push comes to shove, you got to choose one. I would go with Inman. I think he's got the most experience. He's been pretty productive. He's been getting a push since he's been there too. Pascal, we don't really know where he's going to line up. Not sure if he's going to get pushed or not. Chester Rogers is just so hit or miss. I would go with Inman. Maybe look at Zach Pascal as another dart throw.
Zach Pascal last week, 6 targets, played the third most snaps of any wide receiver on the Colts. Now Hilton was playing and there was no Dontrell Inman, but Ryan Grant absorbed like over 75% of the snaps. Pascal was around 60%, where Chester Rogers was way down. So I think just in terms of usage that you're going to see Zach Pascal on the field a lot. Throwing Inman back into the situation if T.Y. is gone, yeah, it's a dice roll, really. Maybe I'll try to divvy it up between those two. But they're the key. Like, one of those guys could be the key to unlocking a lot of value towards the bottom if you want to pay up for some of these high-end running backs. We saw last week the Millionaire Maker just paid up at running back and paid down at wide receiver when everyone else was paying down at running back and paying up at wide receiver. He just did the opposite, and it worked. And I kind of like that strategy this week, too, because like you mentioned, at the top of running back, there's 2 lock guys. If Connor plays, he's a lock guy. And then after that, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, I mean, it's way easier to pay down a wide receiver just because there's so much potential. It takes one big play, one big pass, and your $4,000 wide receiver all of a sudden is like at 4x, almost 5x, right? So much easier to get hit on those big time wide receivers. They're less usage based. I mean, you can have a guy play 30% of the snaps and still, like I said, hit 4 or 5 times X value. So another guy I got my eye on there, Tywan Taylor, 3,800.
He might not.
I'm not sure.
He might actually, not
I'm
play.
not sure about what's that.
He might not play.
Tywan Taylor?
Yeah.
You're talking about Tajay Sharp? I think you're talking about Tajay Sharp.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm talking about Tywan. I am talking about Tajay Sharp. Never mind.
Yeah, so Tajay Sharp is good if he doesn't play for Tywan Taylor because obviously Taylor, his usage has been good since he returned from injury. I think he was almost 80% of the snaps last week. Sharp missed some snaps in the game last week against Jacksonville. And again, I don't think he's practiced all week. I think he's questionable right now. But when you get definitive, even if he does play, I think Taylor's going to be in for at least 60% of the snaps. I think they're trying to push him a little bit here. So very explosive player, 3,800. Maybe not the best matchup, but again, just one of those $3,800 players, fully capable of going off on like 5 targets.
So the guys that I have projected for more than 15% ownership at the wide receiver position, both Steelers receivers, I have with Juju probably being the second highest owned behind Amari Cooper. So Cooper's going to be up there as well. Julian Edelman now with the TY news. That's where everyone is moving their money just right onto him. The other one is Adam Thielen because people love to own Adam Thielen. The other one I had projected, now this is a part of the draw, below $4,500. I had a lot of people gravitating towards Dante Pettis. But since Odell Beckham is out, do you think that gets divvied up onto Sterling Shepard?
I don't think Shepard's going to garner a ton of ownership. He just hasn't done anything all year, so I think you're still going to get Shepard at a decent. Then
I like Shepard a lot. Then I like him at $4,400.
No, it's a really good matchup. The Titans secondary is awful, so I agree. I would prefer Shepard over some of those other options. Look, Pettis is still in play. I mean, he's really good. He's played very well the last couple of weeks. It's a good matchup, like I already mentioned, Seahawks secondary, but it's no guarantees. And I would prefer Shepard over a guy like Kenny Stills, who has a worse matchup in my opinion. So I think Shepard's really in play. I don't think he's going to be heavily owned, even with the Beckham news.
So at the very top end, if you're looking for pivots, I think it's pretty obvious that the two that no one is playing is Julio Jones and Devontae Adams. But you said you like Adams?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look at who's stopped Devontae Adams this year. I mean, he's taken some very good cornerbacks like just to school basically. I mean, he's scored twice against Xavier Rhodes already this year. Had a good game against I think it was Patrick Peterson. So
He did.
I'm not scared of it.
It's funny in that Patrick Peterson game. He actually had very little success against Patrick Peterson, but Green Bay was able to scheme him off, and then all of a sudden he's going off and scoring touchdowns. So I mean, putting faith in the Green Bay coaching staff, even with Joe Philbin, the baby owl, maybe asking a bit much, but I think they can find ways to scheme him into good situations to get him the ball.
And that's part of the thing. I mean, they've been doing it all year, right? So, I mean, obviously, maybe I was giving Devontae too much credit because part of it is they've been moving him around and stuff like that. So, and again, the Bears lost their best slot corner coming into this game. If they do move him around and he gets one of those matchups against the new backup slot corner, that's good, right? So, the Bears given up a couple big passing games to some elite quarterbacks. There's no reason Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams can't connect in this game. I mentioned the weather's not going to be that bad. I think Devontae Adams is fine play this week. I got no problem pivoting to him, especially in GPPs, mainly in GPPs. I'm not going to use him.
I have 4 favorite pivot plays this week because I just don't think a lot of people are going to use them, so I'll just mix them into my lineups. Maybe I'll play 2 of them in a few of the lineups. I'm probably only going to play 5 to 10 this week, so I can't use too much, but Tyler Boyd is my absolute favorite. He's just way down in price. He's in a glorious matchup against Oakland. They're favorites in this game. Oakland brings such little pressure that Driscoll will actually have time to throw, and who's he going to throw to? The one guy on his team who's any good, so I like that. Calvin Ridley is another one at $5,000. I don't hate Hump Daddy at $5,100 in a game where they're going to have to throw a ton. The other one who I have the least amount of confidence, they're right next to each other, actually. Corey Davis and Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson's dealing with this hip injury, but I feel like he, almost like Calvin Ridley, he's sort of a GPP-only guy ever, that he has these monster games, then does nothing. But if you can catch him on the monster week, he could be a week winner.
Yeah, I'm a little bit I'm on you with Allen Robinson. I think if you're going to look at Mitch Trubisky and stacking that Green Bay Chicago game, which I think has some very good stackability, it might actually be my second favorite game after the Patriots Steelers. Pair him with Allen Robinson because, like you said, I mean this guy's going to put up like 6 points or 30 points. It feels like, and he's actually been playing better. I know the hip issue is a little bit of a concern this week, but he practiced in full. I think the only reason he's questionable is because they don't have a probable tag anymore. So. Going to be like 2% owned. I like the Trubisky Robinson stacks, and you come back with Devontae Adams on the other side too, right? So Davis, I'm kind of on too. Like I said, I like the savings with Tywan Taylor, but I don't really hate either of the Titans receivers. And there was someone else you mentioned.
Ridley?
Not Ridley.
Boyd? Oh, well. I really like Tyler Boyd.
Boyd, yes, Boyd, yeah. Yeah, so here's the thing about Boyd, the Bengals. The Raiders have been really good at shutting down like one receiver, usually the number one, and then the number two receiver's gone off against them. Now, Tyler Boyd is the number one receiver, but he plays out of the slot a lot. So I still think there's a lot of upside with Tyler Boyd there. I agree. And him and Jeff Driscoll has actually been pretty on the same page. Like they've had some big connections. So I like that call on Boyd. Definitely a player I'm going to look at. Again, I like this range a lot for wide receiver. You don't have to pay up too much, but you get really big upside with Robinson, Boyd, and even Ridley too, I think.
So for the pay down receivers, I like D.D. Westbrook. I'm good not eating the chalk on Kenny Stills. Good not eating the chalk on Dante Pettis. I do like Isaiah McKenzie, though.
Yeah, no, Isaiah McKenzie's been like he's good. I mean, he's been used properly too. Like they're giving him some rushes.
Like more people this week are going to Robert Foster because the consensus is that Darius Slay is going to take out Zay Jones, and Zay Jones can probably take himself out of games with the amount of drops that he has every single week. So if you have Foster and you have McKenzie, people are going towards Foster. I'll just go the other way and take Isaiah McKenzie is so goddamn fast that. Again, he's one of these guys that needs limited touches to really have big plays. And now that they're using him in different packages, getting him in on jet sweeps and little like tosses to him, that they're finding ways to get him the ball. And I would expect to see more of that as the season goes along. Plus, Josh, we saw this a lot too when Russell Wilson used to scramble a lot more than he does when the offensive line was truly terrible, that he was so good at extending plays and creating plays that he would just find these guys way downfield. Doug Baldwin used to be the guy that Doug Baldwin's not a burner by any means, but you scramble around for 8 seconds, all of a sudden there's Doug Baldwin standing alone 40 yards down the field. Isaiah McKenzie, you can just watch Josh Allen scramble for a little bit, gravitate towards that side of the field because he's so fast, and Allen can just flick his wrist. 80 yards down the field, you're good to go. Touchdown.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I like it a lot. I mean, he's a good player, like you said. He's really effing fast, so that's good. And the other thing is, it's just like he's gotten 3 carries in 2 of his last 4 games, and they're using him in multiple roles. All it takes is one play with this guy's 3,900. Absolutely on the GPP radar for me, and I agree. I'd rather take him over Foster too.
I like him more than I like the Colts receivers, but I could see myself using McKenzie, potentially pairing him with Dede as 2 pay down options, or McKenzie and one of these Colts wide receivers, whether it's Inman, whether it's Pascal, and then all of a sudden I can pay up everywhere.
It would be nice if we could get some clarity on the Colts situation, because even if we just got to know who's starting or if they're going to give Zach Pascal a push, it would make things a lot easier. If we go in there, even if we know Hilton's out, it's going to be tough. So you got to give a little bit harder look to these guys like McKenzie, because at least we know he's going to get some chances. Chester Rogers could get 2 targets for all we know, even with Hilton out. So
I guess the final guy, I brought this up to you before the show, Bruce Ellington has been ruled out against the Bills, and you would expect Tre'Davious White to be on Kenny Golladay, so that opens up a lot more snaps for potentially Theo Riddick in the slot. A lot of people were looking at TJ Jones. However, the guy that actually played the second most snaps last week after Ellington exited the game is someone named Andy Jones. Any interest in Andy?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell the people the same thing. I don't know who this freaking guy is, man. I've been following the Lions situation. First, I was on this Brandon Powell guy. He never got a push. Then Ellington came along. Then I was expecting TJ Jones. Then I look at the box score last week, and Andy Jones is getting catches, not TJ Jones. I honestly don't know. I'll probably look into it over the weekend here, but I don't really like Detroit anyways. And that's part of the reason why I haven't researched this, because the Detroit offense is so terrible.
$3,000.
But they just suck, and they're playing Buffalo. This just screams 10-3 or something. So I'm probably not even going to bother. But look, if he's getting snaps, I guess you're right. He's 3K. There's potential at the very least. So
let's move to quarterbacks, because I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and the viewers, because I try to be honest on the Pat Mayo experience. I don't know what to do at quarterback this week. I might just pay down and pay for Josh Johnson $4,300.
I like it.
Oh, yeah, so you're in on that move.
Vernon Davis stack. Josh Johnson, Vernon Davis stack, 7,500. What do you need from them? 1 touchdown, and you're 5x. Love it.
But I legit don't know what to do. I don't really feel like playing Ben. I don't want to play Brady. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are the 2 that I'm kind of going towards, and I don't feel good about that. I might just play Andrew Luck.
Let me talk you off Josh Allen, because, again, I mentioned Detroit being a bad offense. They're a bad matchup, too. The most rushing yards they've allowed to an opposing quarterback this year is 18. And this is a stat Ian Harwitz, the Action Network, brought up earlier in the week. But Josh Allen is getting all his runs on non-designed runs. So it's just basically him scrambling.
Yeah, that's not going to change for Josh Allen.
No, but that's fine. But against a team like Detroit, who's been good at stopping quarterbacks on these non-designed runs and just stopping quarterbacks from rushing, I think this might be the spot where he gets shut down. So it's just an observation. Detroit's been very good at shutting down opposing quarterbacks rushing, and they're a slower paced team too, right? So don't expect a ton of offensive snaps. I'm completely fine fading Josh Allen this week. 100% fade here.
Kirk Cousins the play? Viking stack Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it. I think most people are just expecting more rushing all of a sudden, and Kirk Cousins to throw the ball 20 times. No one's going to use him, I don't think. And again, him and Diggs, I mean, that's a 60-point stack if they have a good day, right? Or him and Theo, whatever you want to do, right? So, no Xavier Howard. We saw what Tom Brady did last week. Play Cook, play Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, and one of the receivers if you like Cook.
I think that Luck is going to be sort of the contrarian guy that I go with in the bad matchup, but at home against Dallas in the second highest projected point total game. And Luck, outside of one game over the past 3 months, has been amazing every single week. So I'm not going to sweat him too much in this matchup, but I have no real feel for it. I really want to play Aaron Rodgers, but then I'm do I really want to play Aaron Rodgers? Then I'm hey, Jameis Winston, he's good at fantasy. Let's play him. I don't really feel like he might throw 8 picks. I don't know what's going on here. Is there one guy in particular? Is it Derek Carr against Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I forgot to bring up Jordy Nelson in the wide receivers too.
No, we don't talk about him on this show. Jordy Smelson, he sucks.
Okay. I like Jordy Nelson. But yeah, I mean, a Jordy Nelson, Derek Carr stack is another really cost-effective stack. Derek Carr has been playing well. It's a fantastic matchup. I like just playing Nelson by himself, I think, because I just don't really trust Derek Carr. I don't really like Derek Carr. You don't like Jordy Nelson. I don't like Derek Carr. So I like going Trubisky. I mentioned the Green Bay Chicago game. You know, everyone likes Josh Allen because he runs. I mean, Mitch Trubisky's a week healthier off the shoulders. Coach kind of gave him the thumbs up. Yeah, we got to let Mitch run a little bit more. I like going there. And then you can just come back with, like I said, a Devontae Adams on the other side or something. You don't even really have to stack Mitch Trubisky, which is nice. So I like him as a really low-owned quarterback. We've seen him go off so many times this year. I think people are just afraid to play him for no good reason. I know he played crappy last week, but again, these guys usually bounce back. I mean, he's bounced back from some bad games before. So I like Trubisky, and I really don't mind the Josh Johnson, Vernon Davis stack. I really don't. It's so cheap. So, and Jacksonville's been terrible against tight ends.
So in terms of fansharesports.com, their tagging system for quarterbacks this week, the aforementioned Josh Allen comes in at number 1, garnering the most tags of any QB this week. Lamar Jackson is number 2. Dak Prescott is number 3. Ben Roethlisberger is right on that fringe too. Those are the only 4 quarterbacks I have projected at more than 8%. So maybe Tom Brady's the play if people aren't actually using him.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he might be a little bit less owned than Ben. Ben obviously practicing in full, coming in. I was kind of hoping he'd be a little bit more questionable, so people would just not use him. But he's obviously like a guarantee to play at this point. So Brady's going to be a little bit lesser owned. You can pair him with James White. I think is actually probably the way I go if I was going with Brady stack. Maybe White and Gronk. That might be it. But yeah, absolutely should be a little bit lesser owned than Ben.
Tight ends, the top 3 in terms of fansharesports.com tagging system. Number 1, you didn't use them last week, so you're going to try to chase them 200 yards this week. George Kittle, Gronk number 2, Ebron number 3. Fun fact, they're the 3 most expensive tight ends on the slate as well. Everyone is paying up for tight end. I think you can pay down for Vernon Davis. Ferkster is a guy if you want to play if you want to have a cheap stack. You could have Ferkster, you could have Tywan Taylor, and Marcus Mariota.
There you go. Hey, Mariota loves throwing to cheap tight ends. He hits like a new one every week. It'll probably be Luke Stalker this week, but he does love the old cheap tight end touchdowns. So I think
Luke Stalker is a legitimate creative player name. Like that's someone that gets put on your team when you're playing franchise mode in Madden in like the 7th round.
Yeah, no, he's everywhere, Luke Stalker, right? So, yeah, no, I mean the cheap tight ends in Tennessee, like they have some legitimacy. I really like the Vernon Davis play. I'm all over that. I think if you want to get a little bit more risky, Evan Ingram again. Yeah, he just missed like a 100-yard game last week with Odell Beckham out. I know matchup wise, you know, you're looking obviously at the DK fantasy points allowed and stuff like that. It's not the greatest matchup, but Tennessee's kind of good against everyone. So someone's going to score for the Giants. It could be Shepard, could be Ingram. But yeah, if you want to avoid that shock, I think Ingram's fine. And also, if you're going to fade Saquon, you know, play Shepard or Ingram. So,
well, you said you like Vance McDonald. If you look at that screen right now, my favorite play is on there. I mentioned him a little bit earlier. Do you know who it is?
Cook.
It's Cameron Brate.
Oh yeah, make Cameron Brate again.
They're 8-point dogs in Baltimore. Baltimore not very good against tight ends. They're going to have to throw like 40-something times. Like, why not take the shot if no one's going to own him?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of falls in the same argument as the Evan Ingram category, right? I mean, yeah, someone's got to score there. I mean, Jameis, and the thing about Jameis too, he loves throwing to those secondary options. Like he loves just taking a guy like Humphreys and just targeting him like 10 times a game. It might be Brate this time. He threw 2 touchdowns to him last week, so obviously it works. But no, it's boom or bust like Ingram. But if these guys find the end zone or just get the extra targeting, it's going to work. So yeah, the same kind of range for me, really, Ingram and Brate.
Defenses, the most talked up of the week. Number 1, Geoff, your favorite team, the Atlanta Falcons. They're followed by the Jags and the Baltimore Ravens. I expect the Bills to carry a lot of ownership as well. I was in on the Falcons earlier in the week because I thought that they were super sneaky. It doesn't seem like they're going to be super sneaky anymore.
Yeah, I guess not. I was a little surprised. I mean, I guess everyone's finally onto the fact that like Atlanta is the worst team in the history of the NFL, like especially offensively. So I get it from that perspective. Thing is, I mean, Atlanta's a bad team too. So I'm okay just avoiding this. I usually don't play chalky defenses anyways. I'm definitely not going to play an Atlanta chalky defense. there's a couple plays I don't mind. I don't mind going back to the Lions, who have played well defensively like 3 weeks in a row now, I think it is. So obviously put up the big game last week for me. I think I mentioned them. I think that was like the only thing I got right last week. But they're still cheap. I mean, Josh Allen turns the ball over a lot, 3 turnovers last week. Like I said, they're good at shutting down rushing quarterbacks. And the other one that I really like, and the one I'm going to try and get the most exposure to, is Minnesota. Ryan Tannehill coming in banged up. Vikings have really, really good home splits on DST and defense. So I think it's a bounce back game for them. Good defense, good rushing stats, rushing the QB stats there too.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to try to use as much Ravens as possible. And if not,
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Maybe the Vikings. Maybe the Vikings.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Ravens are a great target too. I just didn't mention them because they're a little bit chalkier, but it's Jameis, right? I mean, on the road, Baltimore play like really good defense, good pass rush. Yeah, no, there's lots of upside with Baltimore. The one season-long team I have Baltimore.
So breaking news coming across my Twitters as I talk about this right now. Rashad Penny's not going to play this week. Does that interest you in Chris Carson at all, or does he just do too little in the passing game to matter?
Yeah. God, I hate Chris Carson. Chris Carson, I needed like 6 yards from him last week, and I would have. Anyways, I'm not even going to.
He had a good game last week.
I know. I needed 6 more yards though to advance in this best ball league. But anyways, I can't even be mad at him because he had a good game. But yeah, I think it's an interesting spot. I mean, Rashad Penny out. I mean, he's going to get at the very least like 4 or 5 more snaps. I mean, Mike Davis still handles some of the passing work, but Chris Carson, he's productive. I mean, the Seahawks want to run the ball. They want to be like this ugly football team, even though they have like a Lamborghini at quarterback. So 5,600, he's got to be in play. And like we said off the top, there's not many other running backs to think about in that range other than Jalen Samuels, obviously. So I think Chris Carson, at the very least, you got to look at him, right?
Let's update some spreads. Do you have any, just before I update them, do you have any spreads that you just like off the hop?
Let me see here. Just update them because I got to look at my.
Okay, so I like Tennessee. I bet them earlier in the week when we did the show on Wednesday. It was plus 2.5. Now they're 1-point favorites in New York. So people jumped on the Titans over the Giants very quickly.
Yeah, no, and I wasn't really shocked to see that move. I mean, that was one of the ones that stood out to me. I was like, why is Tennessee a dog even? So I'm not shocked. Hopefully you jumped on that line at the start of the week. I mentioned Minnesota. I think that's actually my favorite target this week.
I like Minnesota as well. It's 7.5 now.
Yeah, it is up to 7.5. Yeah, I haven't looked at the lines yet today. So I got a little bit of money in on San Francisco early in the week at 7, but even at 7.5, I'd still take Minnesota. I just think that, again, at home, usually the offense gets a bump off a firing like that. And Miami's coming in with a banged up Ryan Tannehill. And look, they've outperformed what I thought they would do, the Dolphins, but I still think they're a bit of a fraud team and not that good. So I'll always take Minnesota there. I think it's getting a little bit of a discount there.
Well, there's an interesting situation setting up too. Like there's a lot of diverse money on some of these games. Like there's a ton of money. There's like spread picks wise, everyone's picking the Bills minus 2.5. But there's actually more money on the Lions in this game total because people are just, instead of taking the spread, just betting Lions money line.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean that makes sense. I mean it's probably not going to be a game I touch just because the Lions. Yeah, they've been good defensively, and they took care of like a bad team last week, but they really just don't score points, and they're so bad on offense that I just don't know. Like if Josh Allen comes up with one big play, so not a game I touch. I think actually Detroit money line is actually the sharpest play of that game though, so it doesn't shock me to hear that. There's a couple other games I'm interested in. I like Pittsburgh this week. I don't know about you, how you feel about that game. But
I was on Pittsburgh until I heard Cuss talk about how Finnish New England is, so I just took New England.
Okay, I'll just have to pretend I didn't hear that, I guess. But I still like Pittsburgh. Ben and Brown at home. I think Pittsburgh's just getting a little bit overly discounted there, and I feel like again people are just overrating the Patriots, which happens every year. But I legitimately think this is one of the worst Patriots teams we've seen in a while. And I don't hate. I'm going to keep playing Indy. I mean, I mentioned Indy last week. They came through for me. I still like them in the spot. I think Dallas is due for. Dallas has been getting a little bit lucky too. I mean, these Amari Cooper fluke touchdowns and stuff like that. And yeah, Dak's playing well, but little bit lucky to be on this winning streak. I think Indy at home is only 3 points. I'll take that with Indy.
Yeah, so we saw Cincinnati get bumped up from 2.5. They're now getting the full 3 at home. I still like Cincinnati -3. The biggest reverse line movement that we're seeing, the only one, in fact, is this Ravens and Bucks game. It opened at 8. It's now down to 7, and people are not betting the Buccaneers here.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, I don't have the Buccaneers any interest in them. I think if you get Baltimore down to like 7 or 7.5, that would be really good. So
it would be, but like it scares me with Lamar Jackson. We kind of saw a little bit of this last week, and Feinberg listed off every time that when you play like a very one-dimensional team against the Ravens tend to kill them. So that's not a great, indicator towards Tampa by any means. I just don't see the Ravens blowing anyone out.
Yeah, no, and I guess that is what worries me. I don't have this game like high on my list of bets, but I do like Baltimore as a side. I agree because especially with Lamar Jackson, it's been more ball control defense, but it's Jameis Winston and it's that Baltimore defense at home that you get a pick 6, Lamar Jackson breaks off a big run, one big play, and then all of a sudden Baltimore's up 14 and they just stomp there's no more points. So I still think there's legitimacy. Like I said, I might want it to get down like even a little bit lower. I think 8 might be as low as I go as to play that, but not really like my favorite play of the week. I do like the Saturday games. I like Cleveland, and I also like Chicago. So although I don't love Chicago because it's Aaron Rodgers, but I like them.
The Texans are now they're asking the Texans to lay a full touchdown now in New York in the first game. It's now 7 from 6. Cleveland's down to +2.5 from +3.5 when it opened earlier in the week.
Yep.
The big one that I'm looking at, and I don't know, it's such a stupid idea, but Redskins +7.5. I don't mind. And Redskins money line +275.
Do you like Redskins +7 more than Arizona +8.5 or +9 or whatever they're at?
It's +10 now in that game.
Oh yeah. I see. I don't trust Atlanta for 10 points. Like Atlanta's not good.
Listen, against the spread, like on the pick show, I took Arizona. I can't see myself wagering on Arizona. I can see myself betting the Redskins money line though.
No, I would take the Redskins there too. I agree. Like Josh Johnson is almost as, I don't want to say almost as good as Alex Smith, but he's probably their best backup that they've thrown in so far. So he can still move the ball, but he's a really good college player. Yeah, it's just I just don't really know because both these teams are just so like broken and don't tackle anymore. You don't really know what's going to happen. But look, Josh Johnson probably playing for a contract right now. He's going to have a little bit of motivation. I agree. Like I'm not giving Jacksonville 7 points in any situation. So I got to like Washington at least a little in this spot.
I have a few extra shekels in my account now. After did you hit last night along with me? I know a few people did. A few people stayed away because I've been running cold. But all of a sudden,
what'd you hit? No, I missed it. What'd you hit?
First touchdown of the game, Demarcus Robinson, 33-1.
Nice.
That makes up for a lot of, because the funny thing is because you and I are both used to golf betting so much that a 33-1's like I could use a 40, but when it comes to NFL betting, it's like one side or another. It's like playing cash games versus playing GPPs, and if you can hit a 33-1 in football, it makes up for a whole lot of losses. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like playing the prop bets like that too. I haven't had as much time to play them this year, but those are the prop bets I like. The first touchdown or touchdown scores too. That's a good call because Demarcus Robinson was really he was coming on like snaps played. So
that was the whole that was the whole thing with a banged up Tyreek Hill. Although he didn't. I mean, maybe he did look a little bit banged up. He didn't have a great game by any means. Maybe they just took him out. But it just seemed like primary coverage. We focused on stopping Kelsey, focused on stopping Hill, and Robinson was playing all these snaps last week when Sammy Watkins was out. He was starting. They weren't playing Demetrius Harris at all. They were playing Conley on the outside. It was like, 33-1. You give yourself a chance if they score the first touchdown that he's going to be out there. That seems worth it.
Well, I mean, look, when a guy like Hill burns a team so badly in the first matchup, they're going to like double cover him in the second one, right? So yeah, made a lot of sense. Should have got on that, I guess. So who you got for me now then this week?
I don't know. I haven't really looked at the first touchdown props. I don't really look at them until. But I only ever play long shots on this. Like I know a lot of people. A lot of people were on like Damian Williams 6.5 to 1 to score the first touch. I know that Feinberg was on Keenan Allen 10 to 1 to score a first touchdown. Some people took Mike Williams in that spot, but it strikes me a lot like first round leader bets in golf that it's so random. I mean, a running back, your goal line running back has a better chance, and the guys that score more touchdowns have a better chance. But their odds are just so bad that. Like they should not be offering really 33-1 to anyone who starts in a game.
Oh no, yeah, no, for sure. I always try and play long shots there too, because you just look for the efficiencies. It's like, yeah, the books probably didn't realize Demarcus Robinson moved up to basically like the wide receiver 2 for Kansas City, right? Should never have been, like you said, 33-1. So yeah, you got to look for spots like that. I mean, I don't have anyone off the top of my head.
I got one. I got one that
Okay.
I'm trying to find the odds on first. See, then the thing is, the site that I'm on right now, they don't have the props out. They won't release them
Just
until
throw out the name.
Andy Jones. What do you suppose his odds are?
Oh,
like 80-1?
I mean, again, he'll probably be the same, right? In the 30 to 40-1 range, I would say.
Yeah, he's going to be out there.
I don't mind Dallas Goedert with Nick Foles at quarterback too. He played a few more snaps, saw a few more targets last week. So I like the Andy Jones call though, because he's going to be on the field, because Detroit has absolutely no wide receiver depth. So absolutely, yeah, he should be 30-40-1. I would say.
I don't even know if the books know who he is. He could be like 80-1.
He might get put in the field.
See, that would be super shitty, because Field's like 6-1.
That would suck. What about the Jets too? Because they're down a receiver. Like Rashard Matthews could be a good call.
Is Rashard Matthews even going to play?
I don't know. So you have to check that.
Like, I'm thinking, what's Cuss Boy's name? Ian Leggett. That's not his name, but it's something Leggett.
Oh, Jordan Leggett, isn't it?
It would be hilarious if I bet on Jordan Leggett to score the first touchdown just to rub it in Cuss' face.
Why does he like Jordan Leggett? He's not even the best tight end on the team.
Just because I know that I'm looking at that, the odds for those are out right now. Sam Darnold,
okay.
Jordan Leggett, 50-1 first touchdown.
Oh, you got to hit it then.
What is Herndon's only 16?
That's actually not terrible for Herndon, but
let's see who's someone else who could play on this team. They don't have
Antonio Callaway on Cleveland. He might get some really high odds.
I don't know. Like, I'm just the odds right now for this, like Hopkins 5, Lamar Miller 5, Demaryius Thomas 10, Robbie Anderson 12, Alfred Blue 16, Herndon Curse, Trenton Cannon all 16, like McGuire 12-1. I don't know if I like that at all. That would be so funny if Jordan Leggett caught a touchdown. I'd win all my. I have an ongoing bet. I have 2 Jordan Leggett bets with Tim this year. One is that James O'Shaughnessy would outscore him in fantasy points, which is I think Leggett would need 4 touchdowns to pass him at this point because he's so far behind. And that Vernon Davis's best game of the year would outscore the entire season for Jordan Leggett, which I could get on this week.
Okay, I got one for people, Pat. This is a legit one. Rashad Perryman, first touchdown, 33-1.
That's only 33-1.
Only. He's out there. He's playing.
I know he caught the deep pass last week. How many snaps did he actually play last week?
He's splitting time with Higgins and even Callaway now. I think he's playing almost 50% of snaps. I know one game he did.
All right, well let's find this here because he caught the deep ball last week. So they're not afraid to go deep to him. What's like Tim Patrick or what's the Lacostitude at? That guy's been begging. That guy owes me money, so he better score the first touchdown.
See, Lacosta's, they're on to Lacoste. He's 16-1.
See, that's no good.
Tim Patrick, 16-1.
Let's see. Perriman. I need to find Cleveland. They played. Perriman played 37% of the snaps last week.
But that's fine. You just need him on the field for one, right? So I like that. I'm going to be on that.
That's one you're on. Who else? Has Baker rushed a touchdown yet?
I don't think he has.
Yeah, he's 33-1 for first touchdown as well. This is just thrilling content. What about weird Andy Jankovic? He's 100-1 first touchdown. He scores. I'm going to put $5 on that.
Seth the Valve.
Andy Jankovic, 100-1 first touchdown in this Saturday night game. And I'll probably have to throw. I don't want to do the Jordan Leggett. I can't have. I'm going to win my Jordan Leggett monies elsewhere, I think.
Fair enough. I don't think Jordan Leggett's a good play, like for real. He doesn't catch balls.
I'm curious to see what Andy Jones's odds will be once those come out.
Yeah, like I'm not kidding when I say the books might not recognize him. Like, so you will have to check. Hopefully they give you some good odds. like, because I think if Perriman's 33-1, I think Jones will at least be 33-1. So we'll see though.
All right, I want to let everyone know that odds and lines are subject to change. See website for actual odds. And if you or anyone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Geoff, where can everyone find your content this weekend?
Yeah, so for this weekend, obviously go to the DraftKings playbook. Got the tournament and high upside targets article up there for the week. Download the DK Live app, get those ongoing fantasy updates and stuff like that. And golf season's coming up, so you can check out fantasygolfmetrics.com too. They got a one and done site up there. Got a contest rolling for the season. So Never too early to think about that either, Pat.
What's that?
Never too early to think about the golf season either, I said.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm always thinking about the golf season. I'm wondering if Tiger's going to play in Tournament of Champions yet.
Oh, yeah, I guess he's eligible this year. I forgot about that.
I doubt it.
I don't know. He seems to be on this like comeback tour. He wants to play everywhere, but we'll see.
He did,
Be nice to see him,
but Tiger did say that he's going to like scale back everything that he's doing.
That's true, yeah. He's going to go back to old Tiger where he's just like in his cocoon, and that's fine.
He might play Pebble this year, though, since they're having the U.S. Open there.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Oh, that I don't know. It's weird to see Tiger Woods at Pro-Ams.
Who's his Pro-Am partner?
That's what I mean, and it's just a disaster. And even the coverage, he'll be like 10 back on Sunday, and there'll be Tiger and like whoever they pair him with. I don't know. Who wouldn't they pair him with?
I mean, I would guess that it's probably like the CEO of his foundation. Like Phil always plays with like the head of KPMG. True. It's not like Dustin cut Gretzky from his team.
Yeah. It'll be the richest guy at the golf tournament. That's who Tiger will probably play with. So
all right, at the Fantasy Grind on Twitter, that's where you can find Geoff Ulrich. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the PME. Please, everyone, go vote for the Pat Mayo Experience in the competition for best video of the year. And if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it because Cuss is pathetic at the combine. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, no, I saw that when it first came out, and I saw it again. Yeah, he is pretty pathetic. Not that I would do much better, but. It's good. It's good for him. I mean, hey, it's thrilling. I hope he wins. I hope you guys win.
I mean, I'm just going to take. I mean, I don't think there's.
Just has to get recognized for something. I mean, it just brings so much entertainment.
It would be nice. I mean, in all serious like competitions, I can't ever submit shows that he's a part of because if you don't watch the show, it just makes it makes zero sense about what's going on. Like, how is this guy talking about stuff? But, I think it's funny, and people find it funny. I think one-offs might not find it quite as humorous. But FSTA.org/vote video. You can vote every single day up until the deadline, which I have no idea when that is. But please, like I said, don't make my son think I'm a loser. Help me win this, and he can come into this world when I'm a winner. I can let him touch the trophy. I assume you get a trophy. I have no idea. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. The cheat sheet's up on DKPlaybook.com. If you hit the description, you can find all the shows and some of the audio version. Good luck in Week 15. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!